1-0. THG requests you 20. Over.
C2, this is B&E 1-0. El Diablo directly at my 6 o'clock. Presa El Carrizo, 30K, due west. Target 20.
Roger that, B&E 1-0. Targeted 20. LRP's report all clear for engagement. Repeat LRP's report all clear. All clear. You're free to engage.
Copy that, C2. All clear. Deploy and destroy, boys. 90 minutes and counting.
We brace while we're still in the Jenny. Its twin rotors beating a heavy rhythm in the night air, about 20 minutes outside Tijuana. And when the wave of brace crests inside me, I think to myself, so this is what it feels like to be a sociopath. Each of us has inhaled deeply and abruptly, the way they tell you to do, holding a disposable applicator mask over nose and mouth. The interior of the Jenny is utterly dark in the visual spectrum for stealth, but our visors are tuned to an expanded EM range, and the ultraviolet lamps make the inside of the hold gleam a pale whitish purple. We sit facing each other on benches that run down each side of the hold. On the floor in between us is a small pile of crumpled applicator masks, a California National Forces logo fluorescing on each one. The brace has a harsh chemical tang in my nose and throat, reminiscent of burning plastic, but that's quickly forgotten as the drug rushes up the inside of my face and explodes in my frontal cortex, then lies there, sizzling, lighting up my brain from the inside with an intense white light, like the weaponized phosphorus of angel fire. I feel several things at once, none of it quite what I imagined. My entire body is engorged with a carnal joy that I'm suddenly too inhuman to express in words. I am refreshed, reborn, re-energized. I could run forever and never run down. And despite my energy, I am filled with an ecstatic peace, a sense of being exactly where I belong, free of conscience, worry, or human sympathy. I am blissfully awash in evil, in a profound lust for violence, unrestrained by anything like love. All empathy junked in a rush of pure kinetic bliss, with the sweet taste of sin in the back of my throat. Or maybe that's not sin. In the first rush, I bit the inside of my cheek and it's bleeding. I look across the aisle at Yarborough. Because of the reflection on his visor, I can't make out his eyes, but I can see his mouth. He's grinning uncontrollably, and I feel my face pull into the same rictus. Not a smile, but a manic baring of the teeth, something inherited from our predator ancestors, who hunted with their teeth, who fought with their teeth, and killed with their teeth. He tilts his head slightly and his eyes become visible. He looks back at me and we know each other the way monsters know each other. Next to me, Machia begins stomping his feet, first one and then the other in a slow rhythm. I can feel his left leg against my right as he raises it up and stomps it down, over and over. I can feel the vibrations of his footfalls through the metal plating of the floor. After a moment, Yarborough falls into step with him, and then I do, and then we all do, as though the entire squad is marching while sitting down. The beat is out of time with the Jenny's rotors, setting up a jazzy syncopation. Someone down the aisle starts ratcheting their flechette launchers with a sound that is eerily like a güiro. Wired on brace, we're not a very disciplined force, but then we don't have to be. This isn't a strategic infiltration like Boulder, or a covert intel op like New York. This is strictly civilian control, a euphemism for stomping on everyone and everything so painfully that for the rest of their lives they will keep their heads down, cause no trouble, and be grateful to simply be left alone. Gutierrez is a hard man and normally keeps his city under control, but lately he's been distracted by local affairs, ambitious lieutenants and pleasures of the flesh, and some isolated pockets of resistance have developed. Sacramento wants the place disinfected before isolated resistance comes together into something like insurrection. The brass may call this civilian control, but we call this kind of mission what it is. Deploy and destroy. Burn and return.
C2, we have a visual on city lights. Negative contact on all monitors, all bands.
Roger that, BNE-10. JHQ reports all natives will stand down. MXAF and ground forces will stand down. You are clear for pacification.
Roger, clear, C2. LZ in 9 minutes. 9 minutes to pacify. 9 minutes.
The Jenny's floor begins to sink perceptibly, signaling our imminent arrival at the drop zone. Almost time. Whatever we do down there, we won't even remember it once the brace wears off. It's been coupled with a GABA agonist marketed under the trade name Erase, which temporarily prevents the formation of long-term memory. Like a bunch of blind drunks, when our consciences return in the morning, we'll be unaware of the atrocious things we did the night before. Hell, I can't even remember boarding the Jenny. Except that's not right. The brace and erase were administered together in the mask, which I only used once we were in flight. There's no reason for me not to remember what happened before that. I checked my memory, but I don't remember boarding, or even being briefed, which is when I realized this has to be a dream. And if it's a dream, it must be based on memories, the very memories that the erase was supposed to prevent from forming in the first place, buried somewhere deep in my head, but excavated during sleep. I feel panic rising because I know where the dream must be headed, and despite being a mental fiction, it feels real. I look at my hand, I look at the elapsed mission time on the chronometer, at the equipment in the Jenny. Everything is detailed, precise, real. I bite the inside of my cheek again where it's bleeding, and it hurts. Like so many things, I have training to deal with dreams. The forces prepare us to take countermeasures against things like psychic driving and induced trance states. We know the Texans have used trance techniques on prisoners, and we suspect that the Brazilians have too, so we're prepared. I force my breathing to slow and check my alpha and omega. Alpha. Is there consistency between what I see now and what I normally see in the waking world, what the Boffins call consistency of perception with established facts? And omega. Is there internal logical consistency within what I'm seeing? At the moment, the omega seems intact. The situation remains consistent from one moment to the next. The people present don't turn into other people. Our actions are consistent with the mission. Our behavior is consistent with having taken brace. And the alpha? Only now that I've asked myself the question, do I remember that Yarbrough's dead. Meeks and Kazooie are here, and they went AWOL before the squad was ever deployed. Dreams have a way of obscuring facts like that until you scrutinize the situation detail by detail. So, I am dreaming. The problem is, knowing I'm dreaming doesn't help as long as I'm still trapped in a dream that's carrying me into the heart of Tijuana. I can moderate my psychological responses a little, though I can't control them completely. My practice isn't evolved enough for that. But controlling my physiological responses, that's way beyond my grasp. If we actually get to the city, my body will overdose on adrenaline, no matter how clearly I recognize that the things I'm seeing, the things we're doing, are real. And that will begin to erode my psychological control. Even a lifetime of meditation probably wouldn't get me safely through reliving Tijuana. If I could wake up, I could put an end to it. And my forces training is supposed to let me do exactly that, but it's not working. I try shouting loudly and abruptly. I try suddenly kicking out at Machia beside me, but he just grins at me. Abrupt, startling actions like these usually allow a sleeping person to briefly overcome the REM atonia that keeps them paralyzed while they're dreaming, so they don't end up running around their bedroom acting out their dreams. Then, when their sleeping body kicks or shouts, it wakes them up. The problem is that it's not working. Nothing is working, and Tijuana is getting closer. I jump out of the Jenny. That would almost certainly wake me up, but the hold is sealed until we land. I need a new approach. I ignore the logic of the dream, ignore the other people, and get off the bench, sweeping aside the pile of masks and seating myself cross-legged on the floor. I rest my hands on my knees, close my eyes, and focus on my breath. 1, 2. Inhale, exhale. 1, 2. I get distracted by the guys stomping around me, by the vibrations of the engine that I can feel through the deck, but I bring my mind back to my breath. 1, 2. Inhale, exhale. I feel the Jenny settle onto the ground, and as the doors crack open, the familiar smell of the Mexican desert washes over me, making me lose focus again, but I bring my mind back to my breath. 1, 2, 1, 2. The details of the dream and my dread of it keep tugging at my attention, and I lose my grip, lose my focus again and again, and have to bring it back. The doors slide open wide, and the guys tumble out in an undisciplined, drugged gaggle, laughing and hooting like a pile of evil puppies. I know what they're about to do. I know every unspeakable detail, and those details bang on the door of my attention. But I keep my eyes closed and force myself to refocus on my breath.
We were on the floor, C2.
Resistance, BNE-10? Anybody putting up a fight?
Negative, C2. Clueless. Boys are breaking out the angel fire. Gonna cook a little Mexican tonight.
Felon approaches me and bellows over the sound of the rotors, which are slowing now but haven't completely stopped. Burroughs, what the fuck do you think you're doing? I ignore him, remain where I am. Burroughs! He grabs my arm and tries to pull me upright, screaming in my ear. I focus on my breath. God damn it, what the hell is the matter with you? 1, 2, 1, 2. This is dereliction, Burroughs. You know the penalty for dereliction in the field? I feel my adrenaline kick up a notch when he ratchets one of his flechette launchers. The situation still feels entirely real, and I begin to doubt myself, which is when the thing I've been waiting for finally happens. My alarm goes off. The intermittent buzzing of the alarm goes on for a while before the dream finally begins to disintegrate. Felon's voice crackling and spitting like bad calm as his apparition comes apart. I allow my eyes to open an instant too soon, and out the door of the Jenny, I see the desert for a moment, glowing green through the night vision filter of my visor, before it's replaced by my bedroom. I look at the clock, 6 a.m. I say, I'm awake, and the alarm stops. I sit up in bed, feeling shaky, covered in sweat. I throw the covers off and strip off my t-shirt and underwear, walking to the mat in the corner. I'll shower later. I've got a new client to meet today, a big one, and work to do. I need to collect myself. I sit down naked on the mat and restart the process of meditation that I began inside the dream. I start the mosquito meditation. Nothing less is going to do the trick today.